Welcome to Leadership Devotionals, and today, just imagine that we are on the 8th, okay? We are on the 8th episode of Jesus on Leadership. If you have not watched the other episodes of the principles that Jesus had given us on leadership, do backtrack on our FB page or in our YouTube channel. And don't forget to share it. If you have been blessed with these devotionals, if your leadership journey has been blessed and has been, become a lot more effective, a lot more focused, and a lot more servant-like, as modeled and as principled in Jesus' leadership, do share this devotional. Share it with your friends. Share it with your fellow leaders. Share in your timeline. Send it, attach it through a messenger, the FB messenger, and send to your friends. We cannot just simply keep the blessings to ourselves. If you have been inspired, if you have been motivated, and if there has been a change in your leadership journey, let us share these blessings as I also do with you. I've been reading a very beautiful book. The book is entitled Servants and Friends. It came from the Andrews University, and it is about the theology of leadership. And there's a beautiful chapter there about a study on Jesus and leadership. And this is the source of our study for today. And so I'm sharing this with you, and we are now on the eighth installment, and we are also on the second installment of the subtopic, Jesus on developing leaders. Secure leaders are able to share power and authority. I repeat that. Secure leaders who are secure of themselves, are able to share power and authority. And leadership that is shared generally results into growth. It just follows the logic. When a leader can multiply himself with more leaders, and he is secure that those leaders will be as effective as he is, and he has empowered them with authority, having multiplied himself or herself, definitely ensures growth in the results, in the performance, and yes, in the revenue of the company. There is growth in the individual person and also in their spiritual walk, and of course in the organization as a whole. In Mark 6:6-7, Mark records, "Then Jesus went about teaching from village to village, calling the 12 to himself. He began to send them out two by two, and gave them authority to cast out impure spirits." He gave them. He shared with them. He shared with his team. Jesus did not engage in ministry by himself. Jesus did not engage in his work by himself. Our Lord constantly had people with him sharing the ministry, the work that he was doing. Just imagine this, that distribution of that 5,000 loaves of bread. If Jesus can make a miracle of breaking that bread, breaking that bread and, feeding, according to Bible scholars, more or less 15,000 people, breaking those 5 loaves and 2 fishes to feed 15,000 people, why does he have to let the disciples distribute the bread? Why can't he just simply, speak and let the bread come out in the hands of those 15,000 people? It has been said that Jesus did not engage in his ministry all by himself. Our Lord constantly had people with him sharing the ministry work. He called and formed a band of men and women known as his disciples. Jesus delighted in inviting people to join him in his cause, in his ministry, essentially sharing leadership with those whom he had called. On the mount where he was transfigured, Jesus was accompanied by Peter, James, and John, the same three disciples he had asked to watch and pray with him as he prepared to enter into his agony in the Garden of Gethsemane. And you know what happened to these three disciples while they were there praying in the Garden of Gethsemane? Instead of praying with Jesus, these three disciples were sleeping. Just imagine that. They had a magnificent experience when they saw Jesus in the Mount of Transfiguration, when he was visited and comforted by Moses and Elijah, with all the glory of heaven there. To the point that Peter said, "Can we make 3 altars here to signify this, this marvelous event?" They had that privilege. They were now awe-inspired. But when they reached to the Garden of Gethsemane, and Jesus was there agonizing with the burden of the sins of the world being placed upon his shoulder, just before a few hours going to the cross, he invited 3 of his trusted disciples. He invited them to come and pray with me. And when he went back to them, they were asleep. But still, Jesus loved them. Still, Jesus was patient with them. Still, Jesus understood them. He even said, "The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." He understood the plight of his disciples. And because of that loving relationship, because of that loving gesture from their master, from their teacher, we know that Peter, James, and John were the pillars of the early Christian church leadership. When Jesus has already ascended to heaven, they became the pillars of the early Christian church here on earth. Did Jesus, the question here is, did Jesus need to build a team to be effective in his ministry? The answer, of course, is obviously not. As the Son of God, Jesus possessed all the power and all authority. So the next question begs is that, why then did Jesus prioritize building a leadership team? The answer here is, it was his nature to do so. It was his nature to be others-centered, because it was his character to be loving, being God himself. 1 John 4:8, God is love. That is the character of God. And love in itself is other-centered. And when you are other-centered, you attract people to you, and you get to teach them, you get to influence them, and you get to mentor them, and they get to reflect you. That's what Jesus did. In doing so, he modeled leadership lessons on being what Christian leaders should include others in what they do. Again, I read to you a quotation from the book Jesus on Leadership. It says here, "Servant leaders team with others to serve. They know that effective leadership is not a solo venture. Leadership is a team sport. Leadership is a team effort. In fact, the team, TEAM, stands for Together Everyone Achieves More. It multiplies the effect of the leader with the team. Together, everyone achieves more. Servant leaders also know that teams move the ball down the field to reach a goal. And that is in a team game. They know that they are most effective when they can team with others who are equipped to meet a specific need. Jesus' earthly ministry revolved around building a team of close followers. He called them, He equipped them, and He trained them, and then He mobilized them and empowered them for ministry. Oh, this is so beautiful. I repeat, He called them, He equipped them, He trained them, and He mobilized them, and finally empowered them for ministry. After Jesus had completed His mission on earth, these disciples would carry the message of God's salvation throughout all the world. And that includes you and me. Jesus here modeled team ministry for those He called to be servant leaders. Jesus modeled team leadership, sharing our authority, sharing our power, and by doing so, the Christian world is now, you can see every Christian in almost every nook of this world, which started with Jesus and 12 men, His disciples, 2,000 years ago. That is how effective team leadership is. And so, fellow leaders, let me close with this thought. Today in your leadership, gather your team, pray with them, and make them to be a part of you, a reflection of you, so that you follow the model of Jesus' leadership. God bless you. Hello, fellow leaders. If you have been blessed with the devotional that you have just heard, don't forget to like, share, or subscribe. Because when you do that, more people, more leaders will be blessed with the same blessing that you have experienced. In YouTube channel, click subscribe to Good Shepherd Consultants. God bless you.